Hi everybody, welcome to LindaFit Pilates. So today we're going to talk about Joseph Pilates' signature contribution through his series of 5 exercises. So you may wonder, what is this series of 5? Well, it's really what makes a Pilates mat exercise so undeniably Pilates. So when we think of doing abdominal exercises, we're used to seeing a lot of crunches, right, where we move the spine and we shorten the abdominal wall. And those are great. They're traditional exercises, and I do them in many of my workouts. But Pilates' unique contribution was through these 5 exercises that use the concept of a long C curve, like a crescent moon curve shape for the spine, and we hold that shape, what we call an isometric contraction, using the abdominal muscles, while we pattern the arms and the legs. So they're wonderful, they're fun, and they're uniquely Pilates. And if you don't know them, you're going to learn them with me today. Okay? So all you need is a mat, and we're going to come down, and I'll give you some more detail. So you're going to lie down and pull your navel into your spine. And I'm just going to scoot down just a little bit. And once you pull your navel to your spine, that's going to support your lower back. And you can actually feel your lower back gently pressing to the mat. And then just think from your head to your tailbone how long you can keep your tailbone towards the end of the mat. Now, if you feel you need a little more support, you actually pull the navel in deeper and tuck your tailbone up so that your lower back is flat and your pelvis is slightly lifted at the bottom. Okay? So those are 2 ways to work. A third way to work is to let the tailbone stay long and feel the natural curve in your lower back, what we call our neutral lower back curve, come into place, but we just keep those abdominals pulled in the front to support it. Okay? Now, most of you, if you're new, are going to want to work with that lower back pressed to the mat and your tailbone just gently curled under. So go with that, and maybe in more advanced workouts, you try the one where we have the neutral position of the low back. Okay, so that's how we start. Abdomen in, long from head to tail, lower back pressed to the mat, and the tailbone slightly curled up. Now I'm going to bring my left knee into my chest, and then my right knee into the chest, and I'll take my left hand to my left shin. My right hand comes a few inches above. So our first exercise is called the single bent leg stretch. I'm going to lengthen through my spine, curl my head, neck, chest, and I'm not going to over crunch. I find my long C curve, then I press my shins into my hands, stretch my right leg, and I simply switch, pressing my hands to my right shin to my hands, and I switch left shin to hands, and I switch right shin to hands. Now I start to breathe, inhale, exhale, alternating the legs, keeping the navel pulled in, and my feedback that I'm doing it correctly is that my lower back is still pressed to the mat. Now, if your head and neck bother you, you can move your head a little bit left and right. This is always a nice little trick, but you can always put your head and neck down, angle your legs higher, but still keep those belly muscles pulled in and feel the lower back pressed to the mat. Now, if you want to progress, bring your legs down a little. They sweep low. And that makes the work harder. You'll find you have to pull the navel in more. And we switch and switch and switch. Elbows lifted. So we feel the arms working as well as the thigh muscles and those important core muscles. Remember, head, neck, spine, long C curve. And again, if you fatigue, put that head down. Breathing, and then we bend the knees and we rock the knees side to side. So remember, if you're new, you can come out of that. You don't have to stay quite as long, but I showed it a little bit longer so we could do the different variations for the beginner and the more advanced student. So the next exercise is called the double bent leg stretch. So double bent leg stretch, we're going to bring our hands down to the shins, navel in, lower back pressed against the mat, and then we lengthen through the top of the head, inhaling to curl the head, neck, chest without over crunching, and we keep that lower back pressed to the mat. we're going to exhale. The arms move back, the legs move out. We look at the thighs, the navel's in. Bend the knees, sweep the arms, grab those shins. We exhale out, inner thigh squeeze, shoulders relaxed. Bend the knees, inhale, sweep around. Third time. Exhale out, shoulders down. Slightly different. We'll keep the legs. We'll sweep the arms forward. Pull the belly button towards the spine. Reach your fingers to your toes and bend the knees and place the neck and head down. So the last one was a bit of a variation, and we used opposition, the navel pulling in and the fingers reaching forward. So we had that nice opposition, and you should have felt the abdominals working a little deeper and perhaps a little more stable. So opposition will help lend stability. Now, we're going to see if we can just modify that a bit. So if you couldn't do the full arms back and legs out, watch, I'm going to curl up and I'm going to move my arms and legs much higher so they're closer to me. I may even need to bend my knees a little and then sweep and grab my shins. Exhale out, arms, legs higher, abdomen in, bend the knees, sweep. Now as I progress and get more advanced, I can bring my arms further back, legs further out, and I sweep around. And I can even go this low with the legs this far back, and I sweep, but I have to keep that back flat. One more, exhale out, back flat, shoulders down, sweep the arms, and I place my neck, head down. Rock the knees side to side, massaging out the lower back. All right, so that's our double bent leg stretch, and we learned it with some modifications. If you're beginner, keep your position smaller. More advanced, you bring the arms and legs further apart. But we must keep the front ribs in and that lower back still pressed to the mat so we don't lose our core stability. Remember, we want to keep that long C curve. Now, the third exercise is our single straight leg stretch. So I love this one because if you have tight hamstrings, you're going to enjoy this exercise, right? It will help loosen them up for you. So pull the belly in, lengthen, curl the head, the neck. I grab my hands to my back left thigh. I slowly stretch the leg. The navel's in, lower back to the floor. I stretch my right leg out. And now I just go gently stretch, stretch, switch my legs, stretch, stretch. So I want to keep my legs long but light. Hands are on the thighs to begin. And my feedback is that lower back flat to the mat. Is my pelvis underneath me nice and grounded as I gently pull my thigh towards me. Stretch, 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 stretch. Shoulders relaxed. I'm breathing. Inhale, exhale. Now, if I'm tight, I may have to bend my knee as my leg comes towards me because my hamstrings aren't open enough to allow my knee to straighten. But let's watch now if I'm a little bit more advanced. Well, I may be able to straighten my knees, right? And I may be able to bring my hands to my calves. Shoulders relaxed, and 1, 2, and 1, 2. Remember, you can take a break at any time, and then come and join me. 1, 2, 1, 2. Remember, if your neck bothers you, you turn your head left, you turn your head right. Very small length changes, so our neck doesn't grab, and the abdomen's in. And then we bring the knees in, we put the neck and head down. Ooh. So everybody gets a break in the head, the neck. So again, we may not practice that as long as I showed because I showed a couple of variations for more of a beginner or tight student with hands under the thighs, right? A smaller range of motion. And then our more advanced student where the hands grab the calves. And I may even be able to grab my foot. But again, shoulders relaxed. And you make sure that that pelvis stays down, the abdomen, the ribs in. All right, so we'll just take a little break. And now we're going to come to another favorite exercise, and I'll show this one in two distinct ways because I think that will help. And the classic way for our double straight leg stretch is to have the hands gently clasped behind the head and to support the weight of the head behind to curl the head, the neck. Now I'm going to bring my legs straight up and really squeeze my thighs together. Again, if I'm tight, I may have to start with a little bend in my knees. And also, if I'm weaker in my core, I might want to keep my knees bent because as I lower and lift, I'll have a shorter lever load closer to my hip, making the whole exercise easier. So generally, we bend the knees for two reasons: because I'm tight back here in the hamstrings, or because I need to make a shorter lever load against my hips and my core base. Do you have it? All right, so here we go. I'm going to assume that I have healthy hamstrings, and when I curl up, again, I don't over crunch, I find a long C curve. Elbows wide, navel in. I'm going to lower slowly down, but then I bring the legs up a little faster. So it's slow, control down, and a little bit quick up. And I lower, keeping my lower back to the mat, and I come up. I lower, belly in, and I come up. I only lower, keeping my ribs in, my back flat, and up. And look at my arms, they stay engaged, elbows wide, and I come up. Woo. So I'm only showing my range of motion, which is I bring my legs down to where I can keep my back flat. Now, especially if I'm doing several, right, I'm going to pick a range that I know I can work in. So if you start to bring your legs down really far, do you see what just happened in my back? It just moved off the mat, my pelvis tip, and I really could hurt myself that way. So when we're working out, and we're working out with rhythm, precision, control, we're doing several repetitions, or at least 3 to 5, right? We want to pick a range: lower, lift, lower, lift, that we can control, right? And then as we build strength, maybe we take it a little lower and lift. But it's not how low you go, it's how well you stabilize. Okay, I've been saying that one for years. So let's do it again. I bring the legs up, shoulders down, belly in. I'm going to lower, belly in, inhale, up, exhale, lower, back flat, and up. Make sure you're pulling gently up on your head and up. Your ribs are in, lower, and lift. Remember that back stays flat against the mat, and up. And we're not letting the legs drop like stones. They come down with control and just up faster. All right, so that was our more advanced way to do it. We're going to learn one more way, especially if you have a lower back. So we talked in the beginning about the placement of the pelvis. And I said as we started that you could have your tailbone long against the mat and your lower back in its natural curve with the belly pulled in. And that's really for our advanced student. And then I said most of us will have our tailbone just slightly tucked, the belly in, and we'll all feel the lower back pressed against the mat. But what if you need more? And many of us do. So watch what I do. I take my hands and I make a little diamond shape and I put them right underneath my tailbone. That's not your lower back, it's the end of the spine. When I do this, it allows my pelvis to tip posteriorly a little bit more, making it easier to flatten my back to the mat. So watch, now I'm going to lower, and as I lower, it's much easier to find my abdominals because my pelvis is in a more supported position. So navel in, and my hands are underneath my tail, and I lower and I lift. Now I may need even more of an adjustment by bending my knees. I still move from my hip joints. You see it? I lower and I lift, still moving from my hip joints, but my knees are bent, making the whole deal a little bit easier on my abdominals, on my front hips. Lower and lift. Lower, control, and lift. Lower, control, and lift. And lower, control, and lift. And we bend the knees into the chest. All right, so I hope you enjoyed learning that one. Remember, if you're not ready for the hands behind the head position, you bring your hands under your tailbone and you only lower your legs to where you can keep your lower back pelvis stable. And if you need to keep your knees slightly bent, it's fine, okay? And we're going to move on now and we're going to learn the last exercise. Yes, I didn't miss any. It's called the crisscross, the best for last, right? I think in studies they have shown that this crisscross, or in traditional fitness we call it a bicycle, really engages the muscles like no other core exercise, right? So you're going to learn it now. We're going to interlace our fingers and we're going to learn it the Pilates way. So again, we find that C curve in the body, the hands supporting the head, and I'm going to twist my spine. So the first of the 5 that involves not just an isometric hold, but a rotation in the shape. So I have my long C curve. I'm going to twist to the left, changing the shape, straighten my right leg. Then I'm going to twist to my right, straighten my left leg, and my left shoulder is off the mat. So when we twist, we have this rotation through the upper spine, the rib cage. The navel is still pulled in, and that pelvis is still rooting underneath. So a little different, right? Let's just, if I were just to do it without the rotation, it would kind of look like our single bent leg stretch, where the spine is in the long C curve, the legs are alternating, right? And we have that nice isometric hold of the spine where there's no length change in the muscle, just a constant force. But then I add the rotation left, rotation right. So we're really highlighting the abdominal obliques in this exercise. I twist left, twist right, twist left, twist right. The pelvis is rooted. Now I'm going to start to modify. If I'm newer, I can maybe straighten my legs only part way. I don't have to extend fully, and I can even bring my legs a little bit higher as I twist. So I make everything a little smaller. My rotation is smaller. My legs don't fully extend, and I still breathe. Inhale, exhale, supporting the rhythm and flow of this exercise. Now I'm going to come down. We'll give us all a rest. Now I'll show the more advanced way, right? So more advanced, I'm going to bring my legs more further out. I'm going to twist further. So I twist left, lift further up on my right side. I twist right, I lift further up on my left. But what's not lifting is that pelvis. So the pelvis stays grounded. We rotate the upper spine, the ribs. Twist and twist. Stretch through the knees. So now full extension of the knee, full flexion of the knee. Inhale, exhale. We can add a little bit of speed, but we don't add momentum. So when we add speed, we want to control how we turn our weight load, how we twist without falling or flailing or using momentum. Ooh, those are hard. Now I'm going to do one more set because everybody loves a crisscross. And you're welcome to do it the beginner way or the way I just showed. But there's one more iteration that's very popular and very challenging. So I'm going to keep my elbows wide. You see, my elbows are wide here, but I could also bring them more forward. Now when I keep them wide, I'm going to twist to my right, but I'm going to lead with my left armpit to rotate to my right side. Now when I twist left, I lead with my right armpit to move towards my left hip. So when I twist right, left armpit moves to the right hip, and when I twist left, right armpit moves to the left. Now the key is not to let the elbow drive you across because it makes it a little bit easier. So when the elbow stays out and I twist, bringing my armpit to my opposite hip, the whole deal gets a lot more challenging. And you may find you feel like you're gonna fall over, so you don't have far to fall, but it is a challenge to see if you can get those side obliques to turn and twist you without the arm coming across, because the arm will help. It will just make the whole exercise a little bit easier or more manageable, I should say. So we work at a level that we know we're going to get the best result or optimal result. So these are hard for me. Woo, I do my best. I try not to pull that elbow across, making my obliques do more of the workload to twist me and turn. Pelvis stays rooted, legs long and light. Woo! And then I come back. Oh my. Bend the knees. Ah. Now after a good series of 5 where we did 5 abdominal exercises in a row, where we pattern the arms and legs using various muscles in the front hip, the hip flexors, the shoulder muscles, we're going to get a nice bridge. So watch, I'm going to tuck my tailbone and I'm going to sequence my vertebrae, reaching my tailbone to my knees, and this is going to open up my front body, my shoulder, my hip, my knee. So after we do abdominal work, Always a great idea to release the front of the hip with a bridge. I can bring my arms back and slide my fingers back, my knees forward. I can breathe deeply, because when I breathe deeply, I send the signal to my central nervous system to relax, to let those muscles in the front open up and lengthen over the bones. So I feel my thigh muscles lengthening over the kneecap, my hip muscles over the front hip, my abdominals between my ribs, my pelvis. And I breathe, pushing into those heels, lifting the pelvis, sliding the fingers back, pointing the knees forward. And now watch, I'm going to melt my front ribs and bring my back rib cage, my vertebrae down one bone at a time. Slow, sequential movement of that spine, the vertebral column. All right, bring your knees to your chest, rock them side to side. All right, guys, wow. That was a workout, right? Just those 5 exercises done in succession, and we learned about the long Pilates C-curve, right? How to keep the belly muscles engaged continually while we pattern the arms and legs. And you can do these exercises in conjunction with traditional crunches, and I do several of those on my website, LindaFit.com, where you can work out with me anywhere. So I hope you enjoyed this workout and learning all about the Pilates series of 5, and I look forward to working out with you anywhere on LindaFit.com. Thanks again. Mwah.